That's what I was trying to tell you, is that these media contacts have told us they're about to stage an event carried out against a train. They've done a separate event already at the train station. Of course, there's 5 more hours of this large exercise going on. There's also activity at the Denver International Airport and the Sports Authority Field at Mile High Stadium, as well as several medical centers and a university. So we're about to go check that stuff out.
But notice, it's the sports stadiums, they don't want people in. It's like when I sent Dew and Douglas up to Chicago, the unannounced...
Even Fox News, Alex.
Yeah.
Even Fox News.
Well, they didn't announce a final drill, but then my guys still found out about it, or mass roundups at the sports stadium in Chicago. So they don't want you seeing that, Aaron. Do whatever you have to get up on a tall building, whatever. Get footage of what's happening. Did you bring the super telephoto Panasonic camera I got?
We have the HDV, which has a very large zoom. It goes quite a ways. And we have other cameras with lesser zooms.
Well, do whatever you have to. Great job. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish up what you were saying, Aaron.
Well, I simply spoke with one of the media contact personnel, asked her if there was anything in the drills related to mass evacuation, temporary detention for mass amounts of people, etc. And she kind of laughed and said, there's many locations, but I can't tell you about that. You have to call the head contact, because she was compartmentalized.
Yeah, it's all about the feds.
Follow up on those leads, and we'll have more reports to come out.
All right, good. Let me get a brief comment from Darrin McBreen, Infowars.com reporter. Darrin, in about a minute and a half, what's your overall view of what you've witnessed?
Well, hey, I'm just catching up with Aaron. We got separated for a little bit, but a very realistic drill inside of the Smedley Elementary School compound, in Denver, Colorado. As you know, this is all part of Operation Mountain Guardian, brought to you by Homeland Security and FEMA. And I don't know if Aaron told you that there's over 100 different agencies participating in what can only be called it's a massive exercise, Alex. Now, we were inside Smedley Elementary School, and I'm telling you, it gets about as real as you could possibly imagine. There was a SWAT task force team. They had simulated gunfire. There were sirens, multiple casualties, teenagers role-playing, pretending like they were dead or injured. And, they were riddled throughout the compound. And a very surreal experience. We even got close to the actual terrorist, or the simulated terrorist, if you will. I don't know, Aaron, he kind of looked like a military guy, an ex-military guy. He's a white man dressed in camouflage.
Yeah, so they're trying to take on the Tea Party as usual. Darrin, great job. I want to get a full report from you towards the end of the next hour. I know you guys have got to go to a simulated attack on a train. You're trying to get into the FEMA camp, a citizen roundup drill. Great job, Darrin.
All right, thank you, Alex.
All right, we're going to get more from both those guys when Bob Chapman's on with us. Sherry Tenpenny with a boil down of some of the bombshell info she covered last night on InfoWars Nightly News. But coming up, I want to look at the Second Amendment and the attack on that. Straight ahead with the new head of Jews, the Preservation of Firearms ownership. Now that great patriot Aaron Zellman, of course, has died in the last 6 months or so. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Hello, friends. Alex Jones here. You all know I've worked for years with Steve Shank and eFoods Direct. I have eFoods for my own emergency food supply. Steve, life is different now for all of us, isn't it?
Very different. People are using this great food to survive the present hurricane season, and we've already had $40 billion worth of damage from floods, storms, quakes, and droughts. And that's just the first 8 months of this year. Natural disasters are newsworthy, but only touch a few of us Americans. The huge issue of the Greatest Depression is on everyone's mind. The unemployment, the loss of homes, lost businesses, and skyrocketing food costs are hitting every American. So everyone needs food security.
Folks, this month you will get free shipping on every food order from eFoods Direct. That's right. Every order gets free shipping starting September 6th. Get stocked up with the best storable foods out there with eFoods Direct, and be prepared for any emergency before it happens. To take advantage of this special, call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
You've heard Alex explain how the Silver Lungs generator infuses the respiratory system with your self-produced colloidal silver solutions, yet many are unaware of the entire function of the Silver Lungs system and how it has been designed to deliver your silver solutions anywhere in or on the body. My name is Mario Cifaldi, and I'm the developer of the Silver Lungs generator. Not only does the Silver Lungs system produce endless colloidal and ionic silver solutions, it also comes equipped with the proper applicators and devices needed to deliver your silver solutions directly to key target areas. This includes the eyes, ears, nose, lungs, topically to the skin, and orally for the digestive system. Be sure to watch our new 7-minute video tour of the Silver Lung system at www.silverlungs.com to learn more about how the Silver Lung system works. As well, we are always ready to answer any questions you may have. That's www.silverlungs.com.
Alex Jones here with vital information concerning our nation's fragile food supply. Folks, there are some truly dangerous trends forming, and I think it's important for my listeners to do 3 things right away. Number 1, study the past. History really does repeat itself. Number 2, learn to spot the dangerous food shortage trends. Number 3, take decisive action. A perfect storm is brewing for a global food crisis. That's why I'm telling everyone to read the new book, Rising Prices, Empty Shelves. Warning signs that trigger the deadliest famines in history. Don't get caught unprepared when the crisis hits. This book is only available at risingpricesemptyshelves.com. You'll also get a free copy of Supermarket Survival, How to Cut Your Grocery Bills in Half. Again, that website is risingpricesemptyshelves.com. That's risingpricesemptyshelves.com.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Okay, for the next 25 minutes or so, we are joined by one of the new directors of Jews for Preservation of Firearms Ownership, which is a great Second Amendment organization, really hits the gun grabbers where it hurts, pointing out that authoritarians always try to take guns, counters the controlled socialistic left, always saying it's a civil right to have your guns taken, and shows that the first gun laws were against blacks and others. And then, of course, Hitler was for gun control. And it's a very good counterbalance to the ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, and others that are always out there viciously going after the Second Amendment. Then coming up, I'm going to get into the economy. Big developments, obviously, there with the plunging stock market, QE3 and more. We've got our reporters on the ground in Denver for this Mountain Guardian martial law takeover drill. We've got incredible news dealing with, well, we told you about this a month ago, UN Security Council, climate change, peacekeeping, green helmets. Well, the green helmets have hit. Armed troops burned down homes, killed children to evict Ugandans in name of global warming. They took their property, saying that they've got to balance the carbon footprint of the country, and then sold the carbon footprint to liberal trendies who buy it to put stickers on their cars to feel like they're doing a good job. You can't make this type of eugenics up, this type of extermination, packaged in sickening liberal trendiness. So that's all coming up. But, again, time flies. I can't believe it was 2010 Aaron Zellman died. I remember talking about it. And then I was reading here, and I'm like, what didn't happen 6 months ago? Didn't happen 8 months ago? Didn't happen 9 months ago? Aaron Zellman, really hardcore defender of the Second Amendment. Been interviewing him for 16 years. And I hadn't even heard he was sick, and then heard he passed, which is sad. But he led certainly a good life defending freedom. And so we are joined right now by one of the new directors of the organization, and I do want to hear more about exactly who's honchoing things over there, and so that's why he's with us, Rabbi David Bendory, and he's been the Rabbinic director for years, but now is, I guess, expanding his role there, and it's good to have you here with us today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Alex.
So, out of the gates, tell us about jpfo.org. Well, let's talk about Aaron a little bit. What a guy who certainly made some big accomplishments for liberty in his life.
Yes, Aaron Zellman was a force to be reckoned with. He founded JPFO about 20 years ago. He was just disgusted by the fact that the dominant Jewish voices with regard to the issues of Second Amendment rights and firearms ownership were all anti. And he couldn't understand it. It disgusted him. So he went out and he did something about it. He established Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership and led the organization for a little over 20 years until, as you just described, his untimely death in December of 2010.
Well, his work will live on for a long time. Now, what is JPFO doing today? Because you've got Gun Owners of America, that's a good organization. Then you've got the NRA that sells out a lot. But when it comes to really putting out pamphlets, videos, ideas, and really identifying crimes of the ATF, JPFO has been the leader.
We very much try to take the lead in the places that some of those other gun organizations can't go. There are things we can and do say that they will not. And above all, we will not compromise and we will not sell out. So where the NRA might get involved in lobbying and politics, which leads them to all sorts of compromise, we are an educational organization. We seek to provide educational materials, what we call intellectual ammunition, to use against the gun grabbers. And that includes pamphlets, that includes various email alerts, that includes videos that we've done, lectures that I've done, all sorts of materials that are filled with a different approach to gun control. We approach the issue from a completely different angle, and as informed by Jewish history and by Jewish law.
Well, I mean, from my research, about 100% of the time, when governments take guns or arms from people, they become slaves very, very quickly. And I know that's your historical perspective, and it's really gotten the word out there so people realize how hardcore this is. But specifically from a Jewish perspective, I think this is important because I know that I've gone to anti-gun meetings many years ago in Austin, and a lot of times they would be at local liberal synagogues, and I would go there and try to, during question and answers, say, this is wrong, this is a bad idea, and they would get very, very upset and try to imply I was some type of Nazi infiltrator or something to the meeting. So I think that's what's so good that JPFO is countering, some of the folks out there who claim to speak specifically for Jews, saying that it's, I guess, a Jewish law or something to hand in your weapons, which I don't see in the Bible or the Torah.
No, most certainly not. In fact, the very first project that I did for JPFO was called the 10 Commandments of Self-Defense. The 10 Commandments of Self-Defense is an hour-long lecture that goes through a selection of sources from Jewish law. I chose 18 sources. There are many, many more that I could have gone to, but I chose 18 sources ranging from the Torah, the Old Testament, to rabbinic sources, to more modern sources that look at the questions surrounding self-defense, questions surrounding firearms ownership, and ask, what does Jewish law have to say about this issue? Is Jewish law in favor or opposed to disarmament? Is Jewish law in favor or opposed to self-defense? What it comes down to at the end of the day is a very simple statement, which is God has given you life, and to refuse, to fail to defend the life of the innocent is to hold that gift from God in contempt. And so as people who love life, as people who cherish the gifts that God has given us, we have an obligation to defend life. In modern times, one of the best tools that we have at our hands, at our disposal to defend life is the modern handgun. It levels the playing field in terms of self-defense. And so Jewish law is very clear that you have an obligation to defend the innocent, to defend your own life, to defend the lives of the innocent around you, and to use whatever tools are necessary to do so.
For those out there who don't know the Old Testament or the Torah, and go through some of the, I know I'm springing this on you. If you've got them in front of you, Rabbi, go through what the Torah, what the Bible actually says versus what we also see in Christian churches. A lot of them now, I've seen Catholic churches, pamphlets, Baptist churches saying it's of God, turn your guns in. This is something that the big World Council of Churches and others aren't just trying to push through synagogues. They're pushing it across the board.
I can't comment on the churches, but I can comment on the Jewish sources. I'm holding my hand, actually. I thought you might ask me such a question. So I'm holding the study guide that we distribute along with that CD, the 10 Commandments of Self-Defense. This has the 18 sources that I chose as part of that audio lecture. So I will just choose the first one. The first one deals with the case of a potential murderer, someone who is out to kill another person. We call it in Hebrew a rodef, a pursuer. So in the case of a pursuer, you have an obligation in Jewish law to use any means necessary to protect the innocent life of the person being pursued. And in fact, in Jewish law, we equate the pursuer with intent to murder to the pursuer with intent to rape. Or in other words, once someone is going to cause what I'll characterize as grave bodily harm, that person is in the category of a pursuer, that Jewish law obligates us to prevent such an attack, to prevent such an occurrence from happening. What's that based on? It all goes back to a case in the book of Exodus. The case is of a criminal who is tunneling into someone's house in the middle of the night. And what the book of Exodus tells us is that if a criminal is caught tunneling under the wall to get into someone's home in the middle of the night, the homeowner or anyone else can strike that person down and kill them. It's assumed that they are out to harm the people inside, that they are not only after property, that they are going to cause mortal harm to the people inside. And so one can actively defend against such a perpetrator.